Hi everyone, Stephen Alexander from politicallyimpaired.com. Today we're going to be talking about a very, very controversial issue. But first and foremost, this video serves as a response to Russell Brand's latest political video. Now, Russell Brand, I have a lot of respect for Russell Brand. He's a very, very intelligent man. I don't really know where he stands on certain things because in a lot of ways, he's sort of a freedom fighter. That's the way I see it anyway, at least socially and politically. But realistically, he's got like Illuminati tattoos and stuff like that. And because of the way he speaks and the way he addresses people and the way he addresses certain issues, he comes across as sort of like a guru type of person. And I really do respect that. But at the same time, he speaks very fast, and a lot of his words are very. You can't really determine exactly where he stands. I want to let you know that there's going to be other stuff later on in the video that I think you really, really need to see. It's very, very important that I think the public understand a few crucial points.
Hello, Russell Brand. This is The Truth. Donald Trump's President of America now. I wanted to talk to you while everyone's sort of still delirious and in shock about it. We've talked about Donald Trump quite a lot on The Truth because he's like a fascinating media operator. He said such outlandish and offensive things, but is antithetical to our times where politicians seem so groomed and slick, even though in some ways he is both groomed and slick, because he has a sort of a earnestness and a rawness. Take even the first moment of his victory speech where he says, sorry I'm late, complicated business.
Sorry to keep you waiting, complicated business.
He obviously knows that this is taking place in incredible adversity. What I'm fascinated by, though, is the amount of fear and anger that's generated by the victory and how obviously reminiscent it is to Brexit in this country. This, for me, Donald Trump's victory and the decision of Britain to leave Europe point to a phenomenon that I think is really well outlined in an article by a man called Thomas Frank in The Guardian, where he points to the idea that liberalism as a political system is failing so many people that they have lost interest and lost faith. And my own personal feeling about it is that people no longer trust the people that say, hey, we'll look after you, it's okay, stay in Europe, it'll be all right, vote for Hillary Clinton, it's going to be better.
You can't fulfill every promise that's given to a liberal. You can't. It's impossible. Liberals are looking for a babysitter. You know, someone that's going to come into their lives and and give them things and give them all these other things. Where conservatives are seen as these people that are just like, hey, we'll give you the means to succeed, but then we're going to step the fuck out of your life and let you do what you got to do. As people are realistically sick and tired of having government fucking in their life all the time. In order for the government to hand you everything, they have to be in control of everything. It's very, very important.
Because the people that you're talking to are already living in a kind of post-apocalyptic world, for want of a better phrase. You can't tell people that it will be terrible if we leave Europe, if the world they live in is already terrible. You can't tell people it will be terrible to have Donald Trump in power if the world they live in is already terrible. They're not susceptible to that kind of threat. And of course I'm aware of the mad things he said about women and the mad things he said about Muslims and the mad things he said about building walls. And what I think is fascinating, that someone can say that and it makes no difference. People still vote for him. How disenchanted, how disillusioned, how disempowered can you be that this seems like a sensible alternative?
Now this is the part of the video that I decided that I was going to make a video. Because realistically, these are not mad ideas. It's like, how mad do you have to be? Russell Brand usually does his homework, so I'm actually very surprised that he didn't actually fucking look into the numbers. The amount of criminals that are coming over the border, and the justice system just allows them to be deported and just come back over again. The wall is, like, in my opinion, very necessary, and it has nothing to do with being racist. That's how Trump was realistically fucking nailed as being a racist, just because he wants he wants to build a wall to keep out the bad people, right? So people automatically fucking assume that this was like a Mexican thing. It's not a Mexican thing. He doesn't care what color you are. He doesn't give a rat's ass about that. The point is, if you don't belong in this country, and you're not a citizen of this country, a legal citizen, and you're committing crimes, all right, then that's a problem. Somehow that was, seen as racist. I honestly don't see it. I don't see it. I want to address the problems that they're having in their country. All right, so here's Russell Brand. He's from London, and he's going on about how Trump's mad, and you know, all these mad like ideologies and ideas, and yes, we're still voting for him. That's because most Trump supporters and conservatives that did vote for Trump are seeing the problem. They're seeing the problem, and they did something about it. They voted him in. So that being said, right, let's look at I'm going to look at the whole Muslim situation here, the whole Syrian refugee situation. Now, I have no problem taking in people from war-torn countries to give them the opportunity to have a better life. I don't argue that. I think that's a great idea. It's very, very, you know, American, very Canadian, actually, more than anything. But here's the problem with that. It's some of the Muslims. It's the extremist Muslims, and realistically, he's not seeing this, and he should. See, Russell Brand is a celebrity, and he does go about, and you know, he looks at certain factors and whatnot. But what he's not seeing is what's happening to his country right now as the result of that. Something that Donald Trump wanted to stop. So these whole mad theories aren't exactly mad. If that's what he thinks, Russell Brand, if you're listening, buddy, as much as I respect you, and I really do, with all due respect, I challenge you to walk through some of these Muslim neighborhoods that are in your neck of the woods, all right, wearing a cross for all to see. I challenge you to do that and tell me that Donald Trump is mad. Tell me that. I'm going to roll some clips for you, okay? If you want to see the full clips, I'm going to put them in the description below. But I really want you to see what's going on here. It's so fucking important, because realistically, okay, so if he thinks Donald Trump is mad for doing all the things he's doing and saying all the things he's saying, realistically, what Europe really needed was a Donald Trump. Because if that was the case, this shit wouldn't have been fucking happening. All right. So without further ado, I want you to see this shit. That's super important.
We're in Bury Park today. We're just walking down the high street. There's about 20 or so of us. We're giving out newspapers. We've got our Christian crosses. And we are going through the town centre. We've already had a bit of hostility, but we're marching through. This is a British town, and we are proud to be British.
Fuck you, mate.
Say, sir? It's your country, is it? Yeah.
Your country? What, it's a Christian country. It's a Christian country. Yes, it is. This is a Christian country.
You're jealous that we're taking over?
You're not taking over. No.
Why are we jealous you're taking over?
Why are you taking over? How are you taking over?
Mate, we've got it, mate. We've got it.
You've
Look
got
us.
it. Is that what you think?
It here.
You haven't got it. Like, you've got people scared. You don't have us scared.
No.
You think you can take over town and tell us that it's your country? You've taken over. Not for long. See this cross? This will prevail. This is a British town. I'll come here where I like. I walk where I like.
Wait,
Hold on a minute. Why is this so offensive?
Fuck you! We fucking hate you, motherfucker. That's why.
Whoa! Stay back.
That's why.
Dressed like that.
What's wrong with this? What's wrong with this? Oh really? Slapper. You're being hidden because your men can't control their areas. So won't you covering us so that you don't get raped? That's why this is a Christian country. This is a Christian country. This is a Christian country.
It's against the law. She just said.
You're a pussy, man. You can't. Fuck you, mate.
No, she's She's a racist bitch, yeah?
Move out. Exactly. Go on out of here, mate. Move out of here, because you fucking all off for no reason.
This isn't about race. I'm a Christian.
Guys, keep going, please.
Show me why you can't.
You need to do it.
Stop it.
Don't do what you do. Yeah, go home and jack off on it.
Can you give us a little idea of what just happened?
So we were walking through, we're now getting things thrown at us. We were walking through Bury Park High Street campaigning. We've got Christian crosses with us, and we just literally got mobbed. Muslims came out from every angle. Muslims told us that they've taken our country, we're not welcome, it's not a Christian country. They've taken over and we need to leave. They were threatening violence. People tried to attack me, people threatened to attack Paul Golding, people tried to attack our activists. They're throwing things. This is a British town. This is Britain. This is a Christian country. I'm British. These activists are British. So we will walk through these streets. We have every right to, without being threatened.
The English people, as you could see there, that van there, they're very supportive, the local English.
There are very few of them here, but the ones that are here, they have been entirely supportive. They were thanking us for coming.
And what can you tell us about what some of the Muslims have been saying about this being their town, their country, they're taking over?
They said they've taken over. They said this is no longer ours, it's no longer Britain, that they will drive us British people out and take over our country. They said it's not a Christian country, it's now an Islamic country. They said that I should cover up. Their women are covered up there. Some of them are hurling abuse. You know, it's just, it doesn't resemble Britain anymore. And you can just see that the very small minority of British people left in this town are just in despair. You can see that today.
Reject the false prophet Muhammad and follow the true saviour of the world, Jesus Christ our Lord. What? No, I'm not shutting up. No. No.
It's the last time I hear you, just shut them off.
No. Britain first!
Fighting back!
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 Britain first! Right, we've just walked through Bury Park giving out newspapers. As you can see, we've got about 20-25 activists with us today. And we walked down the high street and we walked back. That was our intentions. And we have been subjected to an enormous amount of hostility from the local Muslims. Lots of support from the local English, and I can see why. But some of the things that these Muslims were saying, that they're going to take over this country, they've already taken over this town, and all sorts of threats, calling Jada expletives, etc. So this is things like this, operations like this have to be done.
Do you see what's going on? Do you see what's going on in London's own area? You can't sit there and bash Donald Trump for not wanting to take in Syrian refugees and not wanting to put up a border. You don't need a border, okay? London, you know, England, it's you know, other than Scotland, it's realistically one big island. You don't really need a border. All right, so like your border is the ocean. So it's different when you have these two different countries with two different ideals at different points. On top of that, you have the whole drug thing. So if all these drugs are coming over the fucking border en masse, and you're complaining about a wall. You know, it's suddenly a mad idea to think that fucking, you know, to think that keeping out possible extremists. All right, there's a problem. So that being said, before we continue on with Russell Brand, I want you to really look at this. This is a video by David Wood, and I really want you to understand why the whole, you know, Muslim takeover thing's really happening.
There are 3 stages in the call to jihad, depending on the status of Muslims in a society. And if you understand these 3 stages, you'll understand Islam, 14 centuries of Islamic history, and the situation we're in right now.
Partnership between America and Islam must be based on what Islam is, not what it isn't.
Stage 1, stealth jihad. When Muslims are completely outnumbered and can't possibly win a physical confrontation with unbelievers, they're commanded to promote peace with non-Muslims and to preach a message of tolerance. Stage 2, defensive jihad. When there are enough Muslims and resources to defend the Islamic community from attacks, persecution, or criticism, Muslims are called to engage in defensive jihad, fighting unbelievers who pose a physical or intellectual threat to Islam. Stage 3, offensive jihad. When Muslims establish a majority and achieve political power in an area, they are commanded to begin offensive jihad. Once Mecca and Arabia were under Muhammad's control, the message of the Quran changed yet again. Suddenly, Muslims weren't just told to fight against aggressors. They were commanded to fight non-Muslims simply for being non-Muslims.
So that's how you separate, okay, the extremists, you know, from the non-extremists. So that being said, right, these different levels of jihad, it's almost impossible to filter out the crazy ones from the non-crazy ones. So Donald Trump is realistically just playing it safe to make sure, to make sure the crazy ones, and I feel for the ones that don't, wish harm upon other people. I feel for them, I really do. All right, but them classifying themselves in a religion that promotes extreme values and in some case violence, if they classify themselves in the same religion, in the same category, realistically, how is the average person supposed to determine what side of the playing field you're on? And it just makes no sense to me. But anyway, moving on with Russell Brand video.
My interpretation is the only thing they actually cared about is change. That Hillary Clinton, whatever she was offering and whatever she was saying, is a political affiliate of Barack Obama who's already in power. Barack Obama, by the way, who now seems sort of like Christ, doesn't he, compared to the people contesting this election.
He does not seem like Christ. He seems much more innocent. But Russell Brand likes to compare people to Christ.
But let's look at the last 8 years and the kind of things that were happening. And that's why people were disillusioned, because you see, even when there's someone that seems affable and capable, like Barack Obama in the White House, still terrible unrest, still drone killings, still terrible poverty, still no consequences for the people that exploited huge numbers of ordinary Americans through the financial crash. We can't keep responding to events like this with more fear and anger. It's fear and anger that are creating these conditions.
I must disagree on this. Russell Brand, you seem like a very peaceful guy, but you have to understand something. Before real change can bring about, you have to get angry. You have to get angry. That's all part of a revolution, okay? You can't just fucking calmly work your way through shit. No, anger is a fucking necessary tool that you have to really feel and get passionate about it. Get fucking angry, because that's the only way you're gonna bring out fucking change. Okay, it's that fucking simple. All right, fear, I will agree with on that. All right, we can't let fear control us. I totally fucking agree with that 100%. But realistically, when it comes down to it, you need to get angry.
There was this yogi whose name I really should learn, who said to Bertrand Russell, when Bertrand Russell was campaigning for nuclear disarmament, he said to him, hold on, what's the point in us getting rid of nuclear weapons if we still have the mindset that created the nuclear weapons? And Bertrand Russell goes, I don't talk about that, let's just get rid of nuclear weapons. You can't blow up a planet with a mindset. But now, 40 years later, 50 years later, we haven't achieved nuclear disarmament. There are more weapons. And the point that yogi was making is the fact that Donald Trump is President of the United States is sort of not what's important. What's important is the conditions have occurred in which Donald Trump becomes. So there's no point reacting to, what? Donald Trump is President of America? Yesterday, the conditions existed for it to happen. So they did 2 days ago, a month ago, a year ago, and for the last 10, 20 years, they've been building towards this moment.
The reason why the conditions exist in the first place is because nothing has been done about anything. The whole Black Lives movement happened under Barack Obama. They could have stopped the police brutality. They could have stopped fucking the unfairness, the unjust fucking bullshit that gave rise to Black Lives Matter. They could have stopped this, all right? But the black president did nothing. And then, his pawn is going to take over, fucking Hillary Clinton. You really think she's going to do anything about it? Because she's not, all right? Now, in the first few days of after Trump has been elected, the world has changed significantly. And if you really look at that, he's done what he's promised so far. Not on all levels, obviously, because he hasn't been he's not even living in the White House yet. All right, he hasn't even been sworn in. So before that has even happened, he's already had conversation with Putin, and they've vowed to work together. They've vowed to work together to stop fucking ISIS. Okay, this is something that Barack Obama could have done, something that Hillary Clinton could have done, something that fucking George Bush could have done, but they didn't. So realistically, the anger, the fucking, the fucking uprisal of the, between the liberals and conservatives, this is the result of it. World peace is on its way, all right? So liberals can eat a big bag of dicks when it comes to fucking, solving the problem of world peace. Yeah, maybe you're not going to get fucking, people calling you by your fucking pronouns. Maybe that's not going to happen for you, And that sucks for you because I'm sure it's something that you really want. But at the same time, all right, it's a small fucking sacrifice for world peace.
What it is, and what I've always believed and what I've said very publicly, is the political system doesn't connect with people. People want change. People want to have genuine power. So if someone comes along and says things like, I'll drain the swamp of Washington of all its corrupt lobbyists and affiliates, that's appealing. What my hope is that this victory for this sort of absurd and ludicrous character who has said these outrageous and offensive things, my hope is that we will recognise that we have to provide an alternative. People have to provide an alternative. It's not...
If you had that alternative, really think about that. If you had that alternative in London, you'd still bring in the fucking Syrian refugees and shit like that, and you'd still have the fucking same problems you do in your country, okay? Muslims are taking over your country, no one's saying anything about it, you're trying to be as politically correct as you can, alright? Meanwhile, look at the fucking world around you, okay? Realistically, you guys fucking need like an English Trump is what you needed, and you didn't get it. So that's why you are the way you are. That's why you're under threat the way you are. Carrying on.
Enough to go, look, here's Hillary Clinton, be grateful, shut up. People have had enough. If the Democrats could put forward Bernie Sanders right now, would they? Of course they would. A person that was talking about socialism, a person who was talking about fairness and justice. So what I've taken from it is that this is a time where we have to, instead of like after Brexit going, those bloody racists Brexited us, we have to go, right, let's try and reach out and understand why people feel like this and be loving and not be presumptuous. And for those of us that are privileged enough not to be that are not in financial trouble, that aren't feeling the weight and the pressure of the world and looking for someone to blame for that, and feeling like that when someone like Donald Trump comes along and in his own easy, accessible, TV-friendly way says it's because of Muslims, Mexicans, that when someone like that comes along, it seems appealing and attractive. We have to create a world where Donald Trump isn't necessary. And if we don't create that kind of world, don't be surprised when Donald Trump becomes president.
What do you think he's trying to do? Donald Trump is a stepping stone, okay? Realistically, when it comes down to it, I'm not a huge Donald Trump fan. I'm not sure as shit not a supporter, but I can see what he's trying to do, all right? So realistically, he's the stepping stone in creating that world that you're talking about where he's no longer needed, okay? That's why he, that's why he says that he took office in the first place and ran for president, is to create a world where he's no longer needed. I think that's realistically every fucking president's fucking, or at least that's what they pitch. We've seen completely different, obviously. Obama came into office looking to make the world a better place. We stayed neutral on a lot of things. He changed some things for the good, right? But like most presidents, it just got worse, as you can obviously see. So it got worse to the point where Donald Trump is needed, right? Donald Trump is right now the answer, unfortunately. All right, and again, I'm not a fan. I'm just saying the fact that he was able to fucking, before going into office, fucking with the whole Putin thing, fucking making peace. That says a lot about how he's going to run his campaign and run his presidency realistically. So I think that needs to really be have a light shone upon it to really understand exactly where the world is going. Hopefully, by the time his presidency ends, the world will no longer need him.
We've just, for the last 20, 30 years, been creating the conditions where this was, as we now know, inevitable, because it has happened. Now we have to find alternatives. And I don't think it's going to take place on the superficial administrative level of Washington or Westminster politics. It's going to take place philosophically and deeply. We have to change the way we treat each other, change the way we see ourselves, change the way we talk about the world.
He's absolutely right. Change happens on a social level. As much as the media wants to spin that and turn it into something that's political, it's clearly not. It's it's all within our power. All right, we are the people. We get to decide this kind of shit realistically when it comes down to it. So that being said, right, I will agree with Russell Brand on this. I agree with most of what he says. But this point in particular, if we want change, if we want real change in fucking any country, all right, it has to come from the people first.
Significant change, because the people that vote for Brexit, the people that vote for Donald Trump, even if people do think that immigration is the issue, then those of us who don't think that's the issue,
It's a Christian country. It's a Christian country. Yes, it is. This is a Christian country.
You're jealous that we're taking over?
You're not taking over. No.
We've got a duty, haven't we, to communicate in a way that is understandable, accessible, not condescending and not patronising, why we believe that this is the wrong path for the world. And we're talking to people that don't have an awful lot to lose.
It's the only path for the world right now, Russell. Sorry to tell you, buddy. It's the only path. As you can see, it was inevitable.
So if you do feel afraid and disappointed and angry about it, try not to. Try to feel optimistic, because this had to happen. In the end, we had to reach some kind of sort of climax, some sort of crisis, some kind of nadir where it's no longer possible to continue in the way we have been. What I think the election of Donald Trump means is it's no longer possible to pretend that politics is all right, because look at it. Now look at it. Now you see. As Biggie Smalls would say, if you don't know, now you know. I can't use the next word, not being an African American man or woman. But, you know, those are the sentiments I feel. If Hillary Clinton had become president, she's a person that did have those affiliations with the banks, that does want to go to war in the Middle East and the Yemen, all these things, you know, stuff that I don't know very much about.
I think you dropped the ball on that one, realistically. Very, very intelligent man, Russell Brand, but you should have done your homework on Hillary, man. She is an evil, evil fucking woman in many, many different levels. And if you don't see that, then you obviously haven't done your homework when it comes to the Clintons. I have other videos, I'll put the link in the description, obviously, that will reflect on that exactly, so you really get down to the fucking meat and potatoes of exactly what the Clintons wanted.
But what I suspect is we would not have got real change. With Donald Trump, it's no longer possible to ignore that real change is required. That is some true news.
That's the end of the video. There isn't much left to say that I haven't said already, so I'm going to leave you with some very simple ideals. Trump is very much necessary in this day and age, unfortunately, like I said. Yeah, we have created the perfect conditions. Russell Brand had pointed out many times during this video alone, and I do agree with him on that. As far as the Syrian refugee thing is concerned, please understand that personally, I'm Canadian. Like, the border is like less than an hour's drive from where I live, and we've taken in Syrian refugees, and nothing like what's happened in London has happened here, to my knowledge. Not yet. I sincerely hope that it doesn't. I'd like to think that Canadian ideals is enough to suppress anger. The average American seems very angry, and with good reason. But at the same time, there's a lot of bigotry in America, and it's not solved, all right, by more hate. I'm against racism, but you have to understand, you can't paint people as being racist just because they don't want jihadists in their country. You can't do that, all right? So, maybe it's time to give the average, Trump supporter a break, because realistically, when they say, okay, they don't want any jihadists, and you will get some. You have to understand that. You have to understand that you will get some fucking jihadists when you take in the Syrian refugees. It's going to happen. I'm not saying every one of them is like that. It's not a racial thing, right? It's a religious thing. So if you're going to get some of them, all right, maybe it's better to just not take that chance. And realistically, in Syria, when you look at the surrounding areas, there's lots of places for them to go. Lots of places for them to go. Why are they coming here?